Hi there, it's Ina here, and today I want to work on a highly textured piece here on my chipboard page. And for starters, I will be using this very rough rope or string, and I measure out about 6 or 7 pieces of equal length. And I hope to use it to create a tree with roots and branches. So I'll saturate it with simple glue. This is Elmer's glue with a little water. And by adding a lot of it, it makes this string very moldable, and I'm able to arrange it on my page in whichever way I like to. It does take a little bit of manipulation, but it goes down pretty simply and pretty easily. Now I'm thinking of creating a very crooked and bent little tree, which will hopefully represent a bonsai tree. So first I curve the trunk quite a bit, and then I bend the top strings into branches. I weave them a little bit under and over each other just to give a nicer effect and yeah, make it look a little more structured and knotty. Now this is very, very messy. I have glue everywhere. My hands are super sticky, but that's nothing that water couldn't remedy, and it's just part of the fun. And next, I of course want to also create some foliage, and for that I'm using some shredded paper. Again, I will use the same glue and add plenty to the paper, and it really turns it nearly into paper mache. It worked really nicely. I was quite surprised because I never used it before like this, and I think it really has potential to create some great texture. Because the paper is so finely shredded, it really molds itself very easily into whatever shape you want it to go into. So as you see, I'm playing around. I'm creating 3 different areas of foliage. And yes, again, it takes a little while because the paper tries to stick to your finger. But when you once get it down, you can really easily mold the edges and just get it just the way you want it. I'm rather pleased how well these pages in my chipboard journal hold up to this extra texture. This is probably more than what you would usually do in a paper art journal, but because of the chipboard, it works just fine, and it's an added plus as I'm really running out of wall space. Now I let it dry overnight, and here I'm showing you a wooden brayer I used to press down the texture a bit more halfway through the drying process. So as you can see, it is very textured, but not too bulky. Next, I'm adding some texture paste. I want to ground the tree, so I'm just giving it a bit of a rough base, a little bit between the roots, not too much, just right around my strings. And this, of course, needs to also dry really well before I can continue. Now my next step will be coloring everything, and I'm using my primary element pigment powders in a very bright green and then in some other green tones. Now I could have covered all this in gesso, but I opted not to. I didn't want to lose any of the texture, but also I didn't mind the brown underneath it, as it's pretty much the same between the paper mache and the string. I thought it would just be fine to use it the way it is. I worked quite a while on coloring everything. I went back and forth between a lighter green, a darker green like you see here on the bottom edge, and then I'm also adding a very light green to the very top. I also use some of my ultra metallic paints to do so. So everything is a little bit shiny and shimmery. But I really enjoy this type of coloring to get the shades just right. And here I'm not careful at all to get paint on the white because I will be covering all that up. Next, I will also work on the trunk, again with the same type of paints, this time in an orange color, a bronze, a copper, the kind of earthy brown tones I have available. And again, it takes a little while. I try to really saturate the little string so it gets into all the little nooks and crannies. And I will also make sure I get a little shading done with a darker color. and really fill in all the little edges like you see me do here. So yeah, all this took a little time, but I had so much fun doing it. At the very end, I use a very dark green just underneath the very low edges. And as soon as I'm done with that, I will be covering everything in black. First, I do the outlining, of course, carefully that I don't get on the string or on the paper. And after I've done the main part with the big brush, I go back and do the detailing. And I'm nearly done with it, as you can see here. And actually it took a couple of coats. I didn't leave everything here in the video. So now it's done and you can have a close-up of how it looks. And next I want to bring out the texture on the bottom, and I use these metallic rub-ons. Now my camera doesn't pick this up too well, but it looks actually very nice, and I will bring the page closer in a few seconds. Now after I'm done with the darker shade here, I will also be using a lighter shade for a little highlight. And I think I show it to you in a second here. Let's see. Yeah, first I used the dark, I think it's called redwood, and now a lighter beige tone. And it comes out really nicely. I believe I do a little zoom in here, and that will show you the effect this created. There it is. And even closer. There we go. So yeah, I was happy the way it came out. Next, now this is an oldie goldie of a Sizzix machine. A friend of mine gave it to me, and so far I'm the proud owner of 3 dies. Yay! Anyway, this has kind of a wallpaper design, I guess, and so I picked this craft paper, which on its own has shaded edges and also a little bit of script in the very background. And I embossed 4 pieces, and now I'm just ripping it to create some corners. And this took me a little while. The corners got smaller and smaller until I was happy with the way they looked. All right, that's better. And now I'm adding a little bit of my ink pad here in brown just to the ripped edges here. And now they go on my page using mud medium. Now, if you have been following my videos, then you know that I really love to pack my art journal pages and add lots and lots of detailing. But this page just really came out nice, just the way it is at this point. And so I kept it that way. It's a little bit different than what I usually create, but I really like it. So here I'm adding more of the metallic rub-ons to the corners, again to bring out the texture more, and I zoom in a little bit here so you can have a look, and that looks quite nice, quite simple, but I think quite complete. Of course, I had to do one more little thing, and that's a white outline all around the tree and the leaves with my white Signo pen, and I think it brings a bit of an extra interest and spark into the page. So as soon as I'm done with that, the only thing left is to add a word, and I simply picked the word bonsai. So I looked up some Asian looking font on my phone, and I'm just writing out the word here again using my white Signo, and here it is. Sorry again about my head constantly being in the way. I have to work on that. So the last step are some white lines just to connect those 4 corners and also pull everything together. And I think that is really it. So here is another close-up. And of course, there will be some photos at the end. I really enjoyed this, and I'm really excited about the potential of this shredded paper. String, of course, too, but I worked with that before, but this shredded paper is really cool. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please come again soon and see me. Bye bye for now.